It's on to week 2 and game 2 for Rutgers football after a resounding win against the Howard Bison 44-6. Rutgers will be facing the Akron Zips, who lost their opening game to Ohio State 52-6, and every media talking head's favorite darling of the college football season, losers. That's right, top 30 team and media darling, Virginia Tech loses to Vandy in overtime. Let's get to it. Okay, so Rutgers is on to game 2 at Piscataway this coming Saturday, facing the Akron Zips, who lost 52-6 against Ohio State. Looks like a bad loss on paper. I wouldn't get too overconfident about it. Akron, let's go through it. Last year they were 2-10, not very good. They in the MAC East. That kind of surprises me after watching them against Ohio State. But, nonetheless, based on last year's record, Akron was 2-10. They're led by Joe Moorhead, who was a really good coach and who was considered to be one of the leaders, or wished for to be Rutgers football coach before Coach Shiano came back. They were... Akron was 2-10, but they lost 3 overtime games. Indiana, 29-24 in 4 overtimes. Buffalo, 13-10, and then lost to Eastern Michigan, 30-27 in 2 overtimes. So there was a lot of games that, if they pulled out, the record wouldn't have looked as bad. Watching them against Ohio State, it was similar to our game against Howard. Here's why. Ohio State got off to a slow start, and right down to their opening drive when their hot-shot, highly touted receiver from South Florida, Jeremiah Smith, drops a pass on their opening drive, and it leads to a punt. Gee, does that sound familiar? And Akron's offense actually made some plays early. They had an early 3-0 lead, and even into the second quarter, it was only 7-3 midway through the second quarter, which a lot of people would have been surprised by. It's Ohio State extended the lead 17-3 at halftime, but it's not what you would expect from the $20 million roster. That's a story for another day. Nonetheless, Akron was able to make some plays, and some of the ways in which they made their plays might be troublesome for us because it plays to our weakness. So Akron's quarterback is Cal transfer Ben Finley, more traditional pocket kind of passer. He got dinged up. He was in and out of the game and eventually left the game. He was spelled by Taj Bullock. Now, Taj Bullock is the kind of guy that worries me. A, he's a backup quarterback, and you know how we are, A, with backup quarterbacks, and B, athletic playmaking kind of athletic quarterbacks. I'm having nightmares about that already. When Bullock is in there, they ran RPO offense, designed runs, and he made some plays. So we have the defense has to worry about containment. It can't be first, stop them on first down, stop them on second down, and then on 3rd and 10, Bullock breaks one and gets a first down. Nonetheless, there are opportunities there. So, last year Akron with Joe Moorhead, they were focused on a passing game. They averaged like 198 yards passing last year, 61%, and as Rutgers fans, we take 61% every any day of the week. They did throw 15 interceptions, so they're prone to turn the ball over. Their rushing game, not a strong point. They only averaged 81 yards per game rushing, and did not have a great rushing game yesterday. They had 35 rushes, 47 yards. Now, Bullock was responsible for 42 of those yards on 14 carries, which is about 3 yards per carry. The rest of the team, 21 carries, 15 yards. And and you take out Finley, they had 14 rushes for 5 yards. So if we can manage our rushing game, and we generally do a good job against the traditional rushing game, but those quick hitters, design quarterback runs and quarterback runs off schedule is what hurts us. So we have opportunities there to take care of business. The fact that Akron is a little better in the passing game kind of makes me feel a little better about defending them. As I previously said, they're prone to turnovers. So if we can get some pressure on them, knock them around, is what we talked about, get some sacks, I think their passing game can be well managed. Last year, they only averaged 16 points per game. That's Chris Ash-like. That's not really good. You can kind of see why with Chris Ash. Joe Moorhead's a little surprising. I think it was his third year, fourth year, whatever it might be. However, Akron's defense, not so bad. We were ranked 16th in yards allowed. Akron was ranked 32nd. Number 81 overall. A lot of that had to do with their -9 turnover ratio. So if they don't turn the ball over, they're going to be pretty formidable on defense. If they are on the field a lot because their offense is turning the ball over and we get some takeaways, it's going to be a tough day for them. They do have an all-first-team, all-MAC defensive tackle, CJ Nunley. He had 7 sacks last year. That's almost double more than anybody had on Rutgers. So there's opportunities there against Akron. But at the same time, they're not, like Howard, not quite the patsy that you would think they are. So what are some keys for the game? We got to continue to develop our balance between the rushing game and the passing game on offense. Got to protect Ethan. We did a really good job against Howard. No sacks. I don't care that it's Howard. When a quarterback, even doesn't get a single sack, even by luck, that's a good sign. There were a couple times in the pocket he was just in the pocket, just sitting back there surveying the field. I think Akron's defensive front and a couple seasoned guys in the secondary are maybe a little better than Howard. So if we can protect Ethan, maybe some designed runs, maybe some off-schedule plays where he takes off, keep that defense honest. And of course, we have to do what we always do. Is run the ball. If we can, I like the idea of they're probably going to be keying on Kyle, right? Maybe if we get Sam a little more involved early and have that rotation in there. Don't know if Benjamin's going to be available. I kind of like that to prevent Akron from stacking the line with that pretty decent defensive line against Kyle. Now we know eventually Kyle will wear them down and break some chunk yards. Nonetheless, I'd avoid predictability and follow up and build on what we did in the first game, which was spread the ball around. I think if we can find different receivers and different spots all over the field, I think that's going to be a good sign for us. I'd like to see a little more productivity added the wide receiver position. So there's an opportunity here for Rutgers wide receivers. And again, it's all kind of new. It's kind of a new lineup, new scheme, new passing attack, new quarterback. I think we have some things we can exploit. in Akron's secondary with our wide receiver core, and continue to use the tight ends. I think the tight ends could be another secret weapon this game. So let's get those tight ends involved, open some things up downfield. Maybe we can complete a pass downfield and deep this game. The other thing is the thing that's going to keep me up at night, and that's contain the quarterback if Bullock gets the start. Not sure how much film they have on him. He is the backup quarterback. Don't let those design quarterback throws beat you, especially on, third and long. You stop him on first down, stop him on second down. Defense is looking stout, and then he breaks the play and gets a first down. Get the pressure, get sacks. We had one sack against Howard with 48 seconds left in the game by Jordan Walker. That's not going to cut it. Once we start getting to the big boys, you're going to need to get those quarterbacks to the ground. Now, if we can do that. We can pressure the quarterback, get in their face, get a good push. They're prone to the turnovers. The decision making, whether it's Finley or Bullock, their decision making under duress is not good, and it's prone to turn the ball over. They had Akron gave up 5 sacks against Ohio State. Not saying we need to get 5 sacks, but they were getting pressure. If we can get 3 sacks, that would be nice. While also getting consistent pressure all game, they're going to make mistakes. They might have had 2 or 3 interceptions that they threw that game. In game 1, Rutgers against Howard, I neglected to mention how I talked about in the preview of the Howard game, how were our corners going to perform? Last year with Max and Longer Beam as a 1-2, that was a great 1-2. Could this year's 1-2 of Longer Beam and Rogers take the next step? And Rogers started the game off great for us in that first defensive series with a 52-yard touchdown. If Rogers and Longer Beam can make some plays, the front seven, the linebackers did a pretty solid job as well. Jabome, when I was at the game, you could see he was spying Howard's quarterback all game. In fact, they even had to call a timeout because Jabome was positioned to have a clear path to the quarterback, and Howard needed to call the timeout. But if Moses Walker and Jabome can get tackles for loss, get in the backfield, and Longerbeam and Rogers can make some plays, get a turnover or 2, get some pass breakups, I think even though Akron likes to throw the ball, they might complete some passes, some sort of wide receiver screen or bubble screen here and there, or maybe even having a off-schedule play work out for them. I think we can do a pretty good job there. But if you pressure them, they're prone to make mistakes. So that's another key to victory against Akron. The other thing is, let's get off to a good start. Let's make some plays early. Offense, defense, doesn't matter. We get on the scoreboard a couple times early and we have a 14-0 lead. I think that's going to make our job, make the team's job much better. Don't let them hang around. Sitting in the stands, talked about this in my post-game, Howard post-game video. There's always guys in front of me. Defense, what are you doing? What are you doing? Wake up, let's go. What kind of play was that? Don't let them hang around. It's Akron. We're better than them. We're talented than them. Yes, they have some good players that could provide some trouble for us. But let's put them away early. Let's get off to a good start. Don't let them hang around. So keep the balance on offense. Spread the ball around. Let's do what we do with the running game. Contain the quarterback play. Get pressure. Get sacks. Disrupt their offense. Get off to a good start. And we should be in a good position to defeat Akron handily. Spread in the Rutgers Akron game right now is about 26.5 points. I'll throw out there a 38-10 Rutgers victory. So let's move on to game number 2, be 2-0, and go against the vastly overrated Virginia Tech Hokies. They lose. I'm not surprised. You kind of can see this coming. You know, I get that Virginia Tech built up momentum throughout the year last year and played really well offensively with Kyron Drones as their starting quarterback. But as we've seen over this past week, the ACC is just not good. And there's a lot of mediocrity. And the fact that they were able to build up momentum and wind up going to a bowl game, yeah, that's a good job by them, and you have to beat who you have to beat, and you can only play who's on your schedule. But that doesn't mean that they're ready for the next step to play against big teams, quite frankly, or just more physical, even Rutgers. So Drones had 322 yards passing, pretty good. 2 touchdowns and an interception. Here's what's interesting. They like to run him a lot. He had 16 rushes for 19 yards. If we can bend but not break in our pass defense, let him complete some passes, but then, again, stop that big athletic quarterback running the ball, we should have a pretty good shot. I mean, last year, Drones had well over 20 attempts rushing and 70-something yards. So they tried running him against us a lot. In yesterday's game, they only had 75 yards rushing total. So if we don't give up those designed quarterback runs or those runs where he's flushed out of the pocket and gets a first down, we can contain their rushing game, and we can have a win that's kind of similar to last year, maybe not by as many points, but I'm not intimidated by Virginia Tech. Okay, it's going to be a tough environment at night in Blacksburg, so you have to count all of that. But as we saw with Texas A&M and Notre Dame, that had to be one of the more boring games last night. Notre Dame winds up pulling it out in the end of the game, and I think what they won by, was it 26-13, 13 points, whatever it might have been, 10 points. So I feel that Virginia Tech is manageable. We can't lose to them now. We can't lose to a 1-1 Virginia, or an 0-2 Virginia Tech team. We have to go down there and beat them. But we can beat. This is how we can beat Virginia Tech. They're the Vanderbilt quarterback, Diego, was 12 of 16, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's very efficient. If Ethan could have an efficient game like that, 12 of 16, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, we win the game. They Vanderbilt also ran for 180 yards. I would look for a little more production than that, only because, Kyle only get 135, 140 yards. And then we have Sam in, if we can get Jay Sean some rushes and Ethan some rushes in there, get 200 yards rushing. And an efficient passing game. Virginia Tech is not the easy win that a lot of the national talking heads think it can be. So Virginia Tech, 0-1. Can't wait to see if they're still in the top 30 rankings. Hopefully not. That would be crazy. Another game that people were kind of looking at as a barometer game for some reason was UCLA. Now, UCLA likes to play defense. They're not very proficient on offense. They squeak by Hawaii. If they're squeaking by Hawaii, that has to make you feel a little bbit better. Now, of course, we're going to be playing them later in the season, and it could be a different kind of team, different kind of game. But, I think I'm looking at UCLA now. This game has to be one that we win. I don't want to say decisively, but it's got to be a good win. And then Miami absolutely destroys Florida, 41-17. Miami had a lot of transfers, so I don't know how that reflects on our win against them last year, but that's still a good win when you can beat a national brand, a high-profile team with a lot of talent who was expected to be better last year. So that's pretty good. Florida, they're on the downturn, so there's probably going to be some issues there. And Nebraska's Dylan Raiola got off to a really solid start, so have to keep an eye on him. And if Nebraska continues to develop and progress going forward in their passing game, there we have it, everybody. We're on to week 2 against Akron. I will be there in section 124. Enjoy your week. Hope you have a great Labor Day, and we'll see you the next time.